Hello, this is Professor Joseph Holbrook. Uh, I am your professor for world religions, REL3308, and we're studying from the book by Elwood and McGraw, Many Peoples, Many Faiths, and today we're going through Chapter 1. So let us begin. To understand religion is very important because in the modern globalized world, our friends and neighbors, classmates, and workmates may very well be from different world religions. This is the new globalized world of pluralism. Almost all the major world religions are now potentially present anywhere in the world. American cities are host to Hindu temples, Muslim mosques, and Zen meditation centers. Now is an interesting moment to study religion. It is impossible to fully understand current events without an understanding of religion. Some examples that have recently been in the news would include ISIS in northern Iraq and Syria, as well as some of the issues that are going on with Iran, the negotiations with Iranian involvement in northern Iraq against ISIS, our common enemy, Saudi Arabia's bombing of Yemen, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. All of these current events require some understanding of Islam in the Middle East in order to understand what's going on. So some questions we need to consider as we look at this chapter 1 and we engage the study of world religions are: what do we look for in other religions, and how do we understand the cultural context? What are the different ways religion expresses itself? What are some terms used to describe religion? How do we look at religion critically? And what are the basic stages of religious history on planet Earth? And also, can religion be defined? What would be a good definition of the word religion? One might imagine it like this, that one is visiting as a stranger in a strange land. And you find as you observe, as you're visiting this strange land, you observe a mixture of ordinary activities and other things, places, activities that seem more than ordinary in a culture. There are a variety of ways of connecting to that intangible thing that we think of as more than ordinary. And this is through rites, symbols, preaching, meditation, and the religious practices of other cultures. One way to look at this is to look at the universe as a split-level reality. Mircea Eliade said that reality is non-homogeneous. What he meant by that is that there are two different levels to reality, or there appears to be in most cultures. There's what's called conditioned reality and unconditioned reality. Conditioned reality is the world we live in, the time-space world that we live in. We deal with suffering and we deal with bad things that happen to good people, the realities of the world around us. Philosophical Hinduism uses the word Maya. Buddhism uses the word samsara. Confucianism and Taoism talk about under heaven instead of the mandate of heaven. Judaism talks about the choice of death. Christianity talks about the world, this present age. Islam talks about Dar al, not Dar al Islam, but Dar al, I can't remember the word in Islam, in Arabic, but it's the realm of war. And shamanism thinks in terms of evil spirits. Unconditioned reality, on the other hand, is a totally different realm, equally present to all times and places, so it's not limited by time or space. At least this is how we conceive of it in various worldviews and religions. Unlimited knowledge, wisdom, and mental power. The highest reality is not limited by any conditions, so in philosophical Hinduism, this is called Brahman. In Buddhism, it's referred to as Nirvana. In Taoism, it is the Tao, which it means basically the way. Confucianism refers to it as heaven, or the blessing of heaven. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam refer to God. In Islam's case, they specifically use the Arabic word for God, which is Allah. And in shamanism, it's the awareness of the presence of spirit. One might picture these two realities, conditioned and unconditioned reality, as two realms with a thin partition between them. But this partition between this world and the other world, according to the author of our book, Roger Elwood, has doors and windows in it. The wall is porous. It's not hard and solid. The main idea in any religion is that the wall is full of doors and windows. Perhaps we could picture it as gods and people looking through the partition from one side to the other. And from the other side come to us revelations, gods, angels, spirits, which can walk through the doors from the other side to visit us. Also, on the contrary, our prayers and good thoughts may go from this side to the other realm, and perhaps the souls of many of us may pass through as well at death. According to a sociologist of religion, Joshua Watch, religion expresses itself in life in three ways: theoretical, practical, and sociological. Theoretical is that which is said in religion. That would include mythology and scripture. The practical is what is done in religion. This can be thought of as orthopraxis, or rites, liturgy, the practice of religion. And the sociological involves social organizations, churches, denominations, sects, temples, religious institutions. So here you see pictured the three spheres overlapping of the theoretical, the practical, and the sociological. And where the three overlap, you have the central religious experience. Theoretical expression would include mythology. Myth we define in this course as stories that express a narrative form. Stories that express in a narrative form the central values of society, the way it views the world. In other words, creation stories. Another way to put myth is that myth is a collection of stories that give meaning to our worldview. Doctrine or belief includes abstract statements that generalize from the narratives of creation. It's usually put in the propositional form. For one example, there are different cultural views of time. Time is an important mythical part of a culture. In most agricultural societies, including Eastern societies, the time is conceived of as cycles, repeating cycles, such as the 4 seasons. In Western or Hebrew worldviews, Judeo-Christian, time is viewed as a linear historical time. A rapid pace of change makes linear time seem more real and has shattered many traditional worldviews. Practical aspects of religion include worship, rites, prayers, and pilgrimage. Practices tells us about a religion's beliefs regarding the unconditioned reality. The sociological expression represents the understanding of dominant religious groups. For example, in Spain or Colombia, the dominant religious group would be Catholic, and it usually has a connection with the state. In some pluralistic societies, such as the United States, dominant religions may be divided further into denominations. So Christianity is dominant in the United States, but not in one religious form. We have Baptists and Methodists, Presbyterians, Quakers, Pentecostals, Charismatics, Catholics, Lutherans, and so the dominant Christian religion is divided into many denominations. Sects and cults, again, are something even further different. Sects are usually small, select groups that are highly homogeneous and high levels of commitment, even semi-military in their commitment, and at a high level of tension for society, although they're normally not theologically deviant. Cults, on the other hand, are similar to sects, but they usually represent some kind of theological deviance from the main dominant religion. Also, we need to consider the role and importance of leadership, which is very important in religious studies. The religious experience is sometimes called a mystical experience. Some of the commonalities in many religious experiences include an experience of closeness or oneness with God, conversion, inner purification. Sometimes there's a perception that prayers are answered, and a feeling of love for everyone. Not all religions have a common experience. Another aspect of religious experience is the numinous and the wonder of nature. The numinous usually means the experience of the other or the experience of the holy, in which you become aware that you're in the presence of something that is entirely different than you and leaves you with a creaturely feeling. The numinous can also inspire dread and fascination. So you have a tremendous feeling of dread, but you also have a fascination that draws you toward it. Another aspect of religion is ethical expression. How do you respond to your religion? This is central to all of our lives. How do we make moral choices? On what basis? Religion often provides ethical guidance and answers. Then there's a religious dynamic of expression through art. Art has a very intimate relationship with religion, going back to the cave paintings of 35,000 years ago. The various earliest expressions of art were intimately connected with religious expression. Anything made by human craftsmanship for the sake of its beauty or truth-bearing capacity is art. Art makes the invisible and shows a religion's views of the human nature and society. All of these forms of expression, ethics, art, religious expression, all of them work together in an interrelated fashion to form a unified experience of religion. There is no logically or chronologically primary form of expression. We also need to be aware of the difference between descriptive and critical approaches. The issue here are critical and evaluative views of religion valid? Is it okay to be critical, to reflect critically on one's religion or someone else's religion? Should one view human sacrifice with the same critical light as the work of Mother Teresa? Critique requires understanding a religion's internal perspective. A good description is a precondition for a fair critique. In other words, you have to empathetically understand a religion from the inside before you can honestly critique it. There's also the importance of a historical approach. Religion goes all the way back to the Paleolithic era, which also can be expressed as the Stone Age. This is the prehistorical, pre-literate age before written languages existed. We see expressions of religious faith in cave paintings, megaliths, burial rites and practices, and again, this goes back as far as 35,000 years. After the Stone Age came the Neolithic age, the new age, the new Stone Age, and this basically was characterized by an agricultural revolution. And human societies began to grow and become more complex as they learned how to grow crops that were an abundance of food supplies. This religion changed during the agricultural religion, and the concepts of cycles of sowing and harvest, reaping, and reproduction became dominant motifs in religious thinking. Some examples include the Babylonian Ishtar and her spouse Tammuz, the god of vegetation, who would die every year and then rise again in the spring. There are some other agricultural religions that are similar, such as Egyptian religion with Osiris and Isis, and Baal, the Canaanite religion, was also an agricultural religion. Agricultural religions often had goddesses of fertility and fertility rites. Sometimes they had temple prostitutes. Agricultural religion had cyclical views of the cosmos, and they also often had a pantheon of gods and goddesses. After the Paleolithic era and after the agricultural religion of the Neolithic era, we come into a period of time called the Axial Age, also referred to as founder religions. All of the major world religions emerged out of the Axial Age and became associated with world empires.